now sets his focus past the moon on the planet Venus. It demands new ways of thinking, new methods in order to depict another planet where there is believed to be life.
One of the cosmonauts being grabbed by a giant plant, and some of the first use of reverse photography there, where they had actually had the plant wound around the actor and they pulled it off of him and ran the camera in reverse so it looked like it was grabbing him. Traditionally a problem when shooting these kinds of effects. These plants never worked. They were just floppy props, and it would always look like the actor was grabbing the tentacle and wrapping it around their neck, or the actor was making the plant move. Well, clearly he wanted to avoid that, and he engineered a terrific little effect for the sequence. They obviously had the plant closed and let it flop open, and by filming it in reverse it looked like it closed up. Another interesting idea that Pavel had for the traveling about on the surface of Venus was this notion of a hovercraft or an all-terrain vehicle, which is actually a very beautiful design. And for many years people looked at the shot and were looking for the wires again. Where is the rig? They're presuming that this was slung from a crane on wires and floated over the surface. In actuality, the mechanism was underneath and going away from the vehicle. It was mounted on a camera crane arm that was boomed out and cantilevered out over the set and went away from the camera and dropped below the terrain, and the rocks on the set in the foreground hid the track, the mechanism, the support, everything. So it was really levitated. It looked like it was levitating and hovering out there, and there were no wires anywhere. It was well worth doing because, again, it's a tour de force. There are no wires. There's a gap underneath the ship. How is this possible? And again, he didn't go for the obvious. It would have been much simpler to hang it on wires, throw some smoke, and say, hey, you know, if they see the wires, who cares?
Давайте песенку, нашу с вами любимую.
Planet of Storms featured actually a very remarkable robot. What's really impressive about this suit was the mechanics of the claw mechanism of the arm and all the hydraulic rams that had been built in that looked functional, which were really essentially just props. Also, the massive design of or the sense of strength that this robot had made it a really imposing and memorable character. Mechanically, it was achieved fairly simply. It was a weightlifter who was inside of a fiberglass fabrication. Later on, I know that other filmmakers looked at this, and I know it may have had some influence on the design of some of the robotics in Aliens.
Planet of Storms was a great success, with an audience of almost 20 million people in 28 countries. But despite the film's success, not everyone was pleased. The Soviet Union's culture minister was particularly critical. As the lights came back up, she said, "I don't like it when the female cosmonaut cried. Under no circumstances should a female Soviet cosmonaut cry." Her statements had an effect on the journalists present at the screening and served to color the press's criticism of the film. Kruzhantsev wrote in a letter that the authorities had placed the film in Category 3. That meant less money for the director and the heads of the studio began to distance themselves from his films.